Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy-Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy-Munson. I see warts frequently in folks, and there's always concern about what is it, what do I do? And then of course the athlete's foot. And it amazes me still, and we'll get into this in just a moment, that athlete's foot is oftentimes approached from an outside-in perspective. And I'll talk about that in just a minute as well. But warts, I find where the rubber meets the road, we can talk about what a wart is. Is it a seed? Is it a virus? Is it something else? What is a wart? And I think there's many ideas out there. I'm not really concerned about what they are, more so than why they're there. And how do we get rid of them? So I've had clients, some with just so many warts all over their hands that they can't hardly do anything. Some young kids, I'll have plantar warts and hand warts where they're big, almost as big as the knuckle. And they're everywhere, and they've tried everything. They keep doing these chemicals that burn the wart off, or that freeze the wart, or that simply just kill the wart, but they just end up coming back. And what's fascinating is I've had some clients where I'll do lesser B vitamins like the riboflavonoids, the inositols, the cholines, the niacinamides, that will oftentimes do it for most. And they'll ask the question invariably, why? And my answer is, well, everything that we see on the body is some type of deficiency. So we have a medical profession out there that is labeling symptoms or disease conditions, and ultimately all they're doing is muddying the waters for everybody, because what they're doing is labeling ill health. And so anything that your body is doing that is not normal, what would we call normal? Like having healthy skin, like going to bed and falling asleep in 5 minutes and sleeping through the night and waking up rested and feeling amazing. My eyes working correctly, my brain not being foggy, my digestive system. I eat things, it seems to work awesome. I get up, I go to the bathroom, I poop in the morning, I might even poop midday, and possibly even again later. And when I poop, it's easy. The packaging looks normal. It doesn't float in the water. I mean, we could go on and on about the list of symptoms, or rather conditions. I don't even like those words, but how the body works. What are these experiences that I'm experiencing? My joints don't ache. I have freedom of movement. I'm not stiff. I have wonderful energy all day. These are normal conditions, or a state of being that we should experience. And anything apart from that, now we can label and create a nice categorization for skin conditions and digestive problems and heart problems. Yet they're all simply how a body is responding to a lack of nutrients or an increase of toxicity. And while that seems oversimplified, it should be simple. This is not a very complex thing we're dealing with. But let's say that I'm out there and I have ideas as a 16-year-old that McDonald's tastes good and I want to eat it. I don't care if I have plantar warts or athlete's foot. I'm going to continue to eat trash. I'm going to continue to eat candy and drink pop and vape or whatever it is that I do as a young person, and yet now I have athlete's foot. And now, fast forward 20 years, and I've had athlete's foot off and on for 20 years, and I use the sprays. I make sure I wear all cotton socks and that my feet are dry and all these things that we'll do to take care of the ever-weakening condition of the human body rather than decide to change what it is that we do. And I'm reminded of a story. I don't think I've ever talked about this, and I have no idea if it's actually factual or true, but I remember way back reading about a gentleman that was in England, and he literally had been the farmer for some 4 or 5 monarchs. And this one king finally says, you've been my dad's farmer, and I believe you were my grandfather's farmer, and even before that, and you are still alive. And this guy basically ate off of the land that he grew all of the crops for the monarchs. And they figured out that he must have been alive for well over 200 years, and they believed 250 years. And this king said, you know what, you've done this job for so long, I'm going to tell you to come into my dad's house and rest. You are now going to live under my roof. I am the new king, and you can eat off my table and stop working so hard. And after he moved into the king's castle and began to eat of his table, all the white bread and the pastries and the flour and whatever else that they ate that was all this rich, tasty food, he died within a month. And I keep thinking, how comical. We can do it better. But ultimately, most of the conditions that we work on are literally we're creating ourselves. And so when I do something with a plantar wart or athlete's foot, I'm going to suggest, yes, you can do those external things. They're mildly helpful for the time being until we can get your body up and running correctly. Now, interestingly enough, funguses like an athlete's foot or even a candida that would be internal of the body, and we have funguses that can grow in our gut that can cause all kinds of problems, funguses that can grow in our body that we think may be cancer related. What's fascinating is fungus means sponge, and absorption is what a sponge does. And so to have a yeast or a fungus come into the body, we really need to look at it as it's designed. It is trying to consume or eat up debris. Now, it is true that we could say athlete's foot begins to occur when we lose the oils on the skin and we begin to lose acidity of the skin, and now we allow infections to just occur. And so you'll see these remedies like, hey, really good cold expeller pressed raw coconut oil. Put it on the feet and make sure the feet are dry often and that you use dry socks. While this is a wise maneuver, it is again treating a deficiency. And the deficiency isn't necessarily coconut oil. It is the body's ability to transmute or to transfer or to transport oil out of the core of our body down lymphatic tracts to the end of the line, which is our feet and our hands. And if I cannot do that, then that tells me my lymphatic systems are down, which means my liver, my spleen, my immune system, my digestive system, all these components of lymphatics that are these one-way blood vessel type vessels that travel out to the ends of our skin, and then there they stop. The white blood cells of our body travel out this lymphatic system, and then they go into the tiny interstitial spaces of the tissues of our hands and our dermis, or the underneath coating of our skin, and they watch for infection. And if an infection occurs, then they accumulate and they fight the infection off because we've got a cut on our hand and now it's got dirt in it, and now bacteria are growing on the dead tissue trying to break down the dead tissue that just happened from that cut because we've damaged something. And then the body's supposed to come along and heal it and deal with whatever infection that may be getting a little bit out of control, and now we get healing to happen. This is our lymphatic channels. And so if we have a congested lymphatic system, we now do not get oils out to these furthest reaches of our feet and hands, and now we'll get dry hands and dry feet. We'll now succumb to infections like an athletic or an athlete's foot or a fungal infection. And so is the fix dry socks? I would hope that you would realize now that, well, no. It is helpful, but it is not the fix. And so we begin to work on things like liver. We begin to work on the immune system. We begin to detoxify the body. We begin to work from the inside out. And now begin to work on good oils back into your diet and not margarines and crappy butter that's from over-farmed cows and pasteurized milk, but rather grass-fed butter and grass-fed beef and non-farmed fish. We actually get ocean-caught fish, and we're eating oils that are much better for our body. And it's okay to consume some coconut oil and some olive oil and some sesame oil that's not toasted but raw. It's okay to consume butter. It's okay to consume animals that have been fed good nutrients and not grain, that they've actually eaten their natural state, that you go hunt an elk or a deer and that you eat the organ systems too. Don't leave them behind. These are where all the good fats are kept. And so as we begin this process of this nutrient density within the body, yes, we want to do some things like put some coconut oil with some garlic in it and then put it on our feet if we have athlete's foot. Yes, we want to slice a thin piece of garlic and put it on a wart and begin to watch it dissolve. Yes, we want to do things like good B vitamins, which comes from liver and which comes from egg yolks and blackstrap molasses and nutritional yeast. We want to put those good B vitamins in the system so that our immune system now gets stronger and stronger and we fight the wart off, and this now growth falls off of our body. And every once in a while, I use iodine. So that's a little trick for you, that iodine is excellent for getting rid of these wart conditions. So these are the kinds of things that I'll use as I go through this process of trying to work from the inside out on individuals. And it really is quite fascinating when sometimes I'll even work mentally with some people that their conditions go away just by correcting some mental belief systems that run in our head that shouldn't be there. The negativity that plagues many of our minds is a beautiful place to begin to try and restore health. Because once we've dealt with some of the negative belief systems that we have, all of a sudden, this body we begin to listen to a bit more because we're not so plagued by our negative thinking. We've handled a lot of our negative thinking, and now our mind is more at peace. Now we hear the body a bit better and we begin to obey it. We begin to do what it would like. And all of a sudden, this beautiful thing called health begins to exude from us, and we look back and think, wow, it wasn't that difficult. I suppose I could do that. So that's my take on athlete's foot and warts. It isn't just a one-size-fits-all, and we don't want to work from outside in. We really want to work from the inside out. That is always the best way to work on every condition. Hope that was marvelously helpful. Until next time, I'm Dr. Troy Munson.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach Dr. Munson at 360-893-8586 or email him at chiroman@dr.com. That's chiroman@dr.com. Check out our current workshop schedule on Facebook at Infinity Whole Health.
The information on Dr. Troy Munson's podcast is meant to educate the listener and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease.